Hi, I'm Jeff.
And I'm Marnie. We're two broke teachers who love to travel. Our years of experience traveling on a budget have given us insight into the best and most affordable ways to see the world. Now, we want to share our adventures and knowledge with you.
Follow along as we share tips, tricks, and hacks to help you travel the world without breaking the bank. This is Broke Teacher Travel Podcast.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Broke Teachers Travel Podcast. I'm Marnie.
And I'm Jeff.
And today we're going to talk about traveling with seniors. That's right. We're going on vacation with the grandparents or aunts, uncles, cousins, anyone who is senior age.
Now, that's not me quite yet, but the other day I was eating with my mom and I was asked if I needed the senior discount.
So, you didn't tell me about that.
No, I did not. But what we're going to talk about, speaking of discounts right off the bat, senior discounts, that is a important perk that you get for being a senior. Sometimes in booking hotels and things like that, seniors get discounts on that, and that could actually benefit the entire party.
Yeah, that can even be admission to different places like museums or theme parks or anywhere you're going. Always ask. It's important. We're all about the budget here.
Oh, yeah. It's all about being broke and traveling. So some of the things, those senior discounts are important. Oftentimes you have them at, they'll upgrade like to free breakfast, free water, things of that nature. So always ask for them. Before we get too far into it, we just want to talk about, like all of our travel, we love it to be spontaneous, but we also have to look at some of the barriers that we have, especially with traveling with anyone.
Yeah, it's important to remember that sometimes our senior citizens are not as active as we are on a daily basis.
And sometimes they're more.
Sometimes they are more. And it takes a little more planning to make this happen and to make it comfortable for everybody, because you want it to be fun for all of you, not just for them, not just for yourself, but for everyone. You want to make it a well-rounded trip.
And one of the things, be realistic about what your goals are and your family that you're traveling with. Because I know so many times when we've traveled, grandparents were like, hey, we've got this, we can do this. And then, they struggle on the way. And and if they struggle and they have to slow down, then they feel absolutely horrible about that. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, they feel like they are taking away from the vacation in some way, and they're not. They need to know they're not. We just need to plan ahead and make it easy on everyone.
All right, so one of the first things I want to talk about is traveling internationally. Make sure that the travel documents are up to date. Passports, a lot of people have passports, but they're good for 10 years. And just like mine, it's coming up for renewal. A lot of times people don't think about that. And the process can be, lengthy sometimes, depending on what's going on in the world. So let's make sure that we check with those passports and those travel documents to make sure they didn't expire.
I always like to say, give it 6 months out on the passports, because they can take a while. One of the things I want to talk about is a lot of people take medication, not just the senior citizens, a lot of people do. And it's important to remember to bring a little snack or something that they can have when they're taking that medication, just some crackers or a granola bar, something like that. It's something good to keep on hand just in case they need it.
Yeah, also on the same lines, one of the things you want to make sure that they take enough medication, not just for the 5, 6, ever how many days you're going, but a couple of extra days in case you get snowed in case the flight's delayed and things of that nature. So make sure you do that, and make sure everything is in the bottle with their name on it.
Yeah. You also need to remember hydration. That is so important. That can zap your energy level so quickly. So make sure you have a bottle of water, or you have something accessible to you. Some of the powdered drink mixes are great to keep. We've talked about those before, but they can also add a little bit of extra energy because a lot of them have vitamins and things. So remember to take something like that with you. We personally love the liquid IVs and the different flavors, because it does pack, and this is not an endorsement, it's just something we use. It does pack some extra vitamins and things, and it really does hydrate you very well.
A second thing that you kind of want to look at is if the place that your vacation offers disability passes, or things that would allow seniors to maybe be out of the sun or give them an alternate waiting area. I know that Disney does that.
Yes, Disney and Universal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and a lot of the I believe some of the museums and different sites, maybe even some of the parks, the state parks and national parks might offer some of that. You might want to check on that. And another thing that's important to remember, check into early boarding if you're traveling on an airplane, because that can be very beneficial to senior citizens. It can give them a little bit of extra time to get in the plane, get comfortable, and relax before the flight.
And one of the other things about the disability passes is if they have a handicap pass that are for their car when they're driving, you're allowed to take that with you and put it in your car as long as they are with you. Okay, so that's one of the things that is very, very important. A lot of times at resorts and things, what we prefer to do is drive up, let them off, and then us go park or something of that nature. But again, those passes can, as long as the person's in there with you, then you could transfer them.
One of the other things that I want to talk about is Live 360. If you have that on your phone, that can be a lifesaver. Put it on their phone as well, and you can, if they were to get, not lost, I don't want to say lost because they know where they're going, but if they get separated and you're in a strange area that no one's familiar with, then you have a way to locate each other, and it's a safety issue there. And I think that can be very, very beneficial.
In addition to just the technological ways of doing that, I also like to, regardless of who I'm traveling with, for us to have a hard copy written on a note card. Hey, this is the numbers, this is the hotel address. These are things that we need to have just in case we do get separated.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. As a matter of fact, we did that with the kids when we took them to Europe.
Right.
We made them all have something in their wallet on them where, like Jeff said, in case we get separated, it was there.
And, as much as you continually look back at people, or, sometimes they just one or two steps when you're, when you're around that many people, you could get, lost in the commotion. And that happens when when we worked at Disney, there were so many times that, seniors were separated from the party, and we're like, hey, just come over here, sit down. And, eventually,
they'll circle back around.
Back around.
They'll find you.
Another thing that I think is kind of important, and this is something that I've just started talking about actually this week, is compression socks. Again, people like to remind me that I am getting older, but compression socks are for extended flights or extended car rides. These things are very, very good.
And compression socks are not just for people who are older. They're for everyone. I mean, they're a great idea. It helps prevent blood clots and just different things, varicose veins, things like that. It just helps your circulation, and it's a good thing to have.
I've got to be honest, when Marnie told me that she ordered me some, I wasn't exactly thrilled, but hopefully they come in some cool colors and things like that. Yeah,
they do. One of the other things you might want to think about is a military discount. A lot of our senior citizens have served in the military, and it's important to check for that, because if they are offered that discount, help them get it, because it can make a difference in their budget for travel.
Absolutely. I know that there are so many places that do offer those kind of benefits. Also, seniors that have served in the military, they may offer some airlines early boarding and things like that. I know they do it for active duty, but veterans, they may do that some airplanes.
Yeah.
Other things, getting around for people that have limited mobility, scooter rentals, and other medical equipment is kind of a very important thing. So rather than trying to lug the equipment around and get it off and put it back on, a lot of times people just prefer to rent it, have it dropped off, have it picked up. I know with theme parks and things like that, sometimes it's just as easy to rent them when they get there, and then have them turn them in whenever you leave.
Just make sure you confirm that rental on your way there. Make sure it's going to be there so that you're not stranded and don't have use, of it when you need it.
And that's the thing that, it depends on when you travel, but during the high season, there's a lot of people going, and, so that's kind of important. So do make sure that you have confirmation, their apps and everything that could also track that. So,
Yeah. And I want to touch on something again that Jeff brought up earlier. Make sure that you bring medication and to bring enough. You never know, maybe your flight's going to get canceled. Maybe you're delayed for some reason. Like he said, maybe there's snow or bad weather. You need to be prepared for that. And you don't want your family member or friend or whoever's traveling with you to be stuck without the medication that they need. That is very, very important. Make sure it's in a bottle labeled with their name on it from the pharmacy. And do try to get an extra supply, because it can be a bad situation if you're stranded somewhere and they do not have that medication that they need.
but be aware that if you're especially out of the country, that there are pharmacies everywhere,
Yes.
and they do have medication over there. So if you get over there and something gets lost or something was not packed, it's going to take a little time, but do not freak out. They do have
They
that.
will help you. Absolutely.
Another thing, prosthetics. That's one of the things that I'd never really thought about myself. But now that I think about it, I have people that have had prosthetics. They have to alert TSA about that to kind of make that process a little more efficient.
And not just prosthetics. I mean, you have to think about like joint replacements, things like that, or
Oh yeah,
plates, screws, all kinds of things. You have to think about that because, like Jeff said, the metal detectors and everything will pick that up, and you need to just alert them so that they know going through, and everyone's not holding up the line, things like that. It just makes things run more smoothly, and it will save the person some embarrassment if they go ahead and tell them in advance, and that way they don't feel bad because the line's being held up.
right, absolutely. Other things, air tags and tiles. Marnie, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, the air tags are fantastic. They're amazing. They're great to put in your luggage and put it inside your luggage, not just hanging on the outside, because those can be pulled off easily. Same thing
now-
with a tile.
What exactly is an air tag? Okay.
Okay, it's an Apple device. They're made to. It's a tracker.
Oh, okay.
It's what it is. It's a little tag that's a tracker, and you put them inside your luggage. You can put them in children's clothing. You can sew them in. You can don't get it wet though. You can put it in senior clothing if you have anyone that might, be liable to get a little too far from you, possibly. You want to have that there as a safety precaution. It can also help save your luggage. I've heard of so many people that had an air tag or tile in their luggage, and it got lost in the baggage process somewhere, and all they had to do was go show their phone and say, hey, it's here, it's at the airport, it just hasn't been brought in yet, can you please check it for me? Or wait, they forgot to get it off the plane, I can show you right here. And it's a lifesaver.
One of the other things, check with the doctors if they have a medical condition, or if you've recently had a medical procedure. That's one of the things that sometimes they don't want you to fly. They don't want this stress so many days out and things of that nature. So, again, one of the things to make sure is that, who the seniors that you're traveling with, be honest with you about their situation. Hey, this may be a great time, but I just really don't feel like this right now. Because we know that grandparents, man, they love being around their grandchildren. And what we don't want to ever do is put them in a bad situation.
Right.
Because if they do have to stop, if they do have to, anything like that, oftentimes they will feel horrible about it. So let's not put them in that situation. So let's, talk with the doctors. And if the doctor's good to go, gives you the thumbs up, then by all means, let's have some fun.
100%. Another thing that you might want to check into are military hotels. If you have a former military person in your life, then have them check into that, because there are hotels that give them amazing benefits and discounts. I know Shades of Green in Orlando. It's actually on Disney property, but it's not a Disney hotel. So if you're going anywhere in the Orlando area, that is a great place. And it is a beautiful resort. It is absolutely gorgeous. And it has all sorts of amenities. And it's just really nice to know that the former military members can get that discount and can have a nice place to stay.
Now, we have talked about, and I think I jumped over to earlier to another topic, but the activity level that people are at, let's consider that, and let's make sure we have plenty of frequent breaks. Again, we always think about the older people taking frequent breaks, but, even when we were much younger, trying to keep up with young kids is hard enough for parents, much less grandparents.
Yeah. Something else you need to consider, depending on where you're traveling, is sun protection. I mean, you need sun protection anyway for your skin, but you need to think about it in terms of heat exhaustion, heat strokes, things like that. Make sure that your family member or friend or whoever's traveling with you is well protected. Maybe a hat, some clothes that breathe, cotton, fantastic. And just make sure they are protected from that extra heat. And it does get hot in a lot of places. I know Italy gets very hot in the summer. Yes. And we know Orlando does. Lots of places. We are from Florida, so yes, it gets very warm here.
One of the things that I kind of always think about whenever I pack, or when my daughter used to pack for me, or when Marnie packs now for me, is to make sure that we have things on hand that we may not be able to get to very quickly. One of the things that Europe does lack, to the degree that the United States does, Walmart kind of places, as well as convenience stores. So, for example, I always take extra batteries for anything. And I know for seniors, especially if they use like hearing aids and things of that nature, make sure that you take an extra charger if they're chargeable, or extra batteries if that's what you need.
Yeah, that's very, very important. Also, we've talked about this earlier, but I do want to hit on it again. Consider their normal activity level, what they do every day in their everyday life, and take that into consideration when you are planning. Because if they're not accustomed to walking 10 miles a day, then you need to scale things back. Because they need to be comfortable and they need to be able to do this in order to make the trip good for them.
And I was just thinking, I've got a trip planned this summer where I'm going to go to Turkey, and I know I'm going to be doing a lot of walking, and really I haven't been doing that much lately. So probably in the next month or so, maybe, I'll pick that up.
Training.
A little training. So keep that in mind. Speaking of, when you're in Europe, one of the things that you have to be very, very careful about is uneven pavement, okay?
And stairs.
Stairs are very steep sometimes over there. Sometimes hotels do not have elevators. So, stay on the ground floor if it's possible, or maybe just the first floor. I know for a fact that the pavement is very uneven over there.
Yes.
Several years ago when we were in Europe, we were at the Roman Forum, and I tripped and fell, and my daughter pointed out that that's probably the same place where Julius Caesar did it as well. So, but nonetheless, keep that in mind. Now, what about the beach, Marnie? What about...
Okay, if you're heading to a beach location, and if someone in your party needs a wheelchair, then make sure to check with some of the local rental places, because they do offer specific beach wheelchairs. They have these really large plastic tires on them, and they will actually go through the sand where a normal wheelchair will not. So it's very, very convenient if you are visiting the beach.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I haven't seen those.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, they're really nice.
And living on the beach, maybe I just need to go more and see what's going on there. So another thing that we talked about this with young children, about having something that they really want to do, some kind of cool deal. I think that one of the coolest things to do is, if you happen to be going through somewhere where they lived before, or something of that nature, or hey, maybe it's close to where they got married, or there's a memory from there, or even if they have an old friend that they haven't seen in years, or, how hard is it to take an extra couple of hours out to really, really make that memory?
Yeah, in fact, you could do a whole trip based on their life.
And those are cool things. And again, when I think about the admiration I have for my parents, and I think that it is very, very, a day or two or even a whole trip is very much worth, what they've given to me. So that's something that you guys could definitely plan a day or at least a few hours out to kind of take them down memory lane.
Yeah, I think that would be a lot of fun. Remember to check along the way if you are booking hotel rooms, if you need an accessible room for someone in your travel party. Maybe they need a wheelchair or a walker or something, and they need that little bit of extra space. Make sure you check that you have access to that, and that will be very, very beneficial.
And the last thing that I think is take lots of pictures. There'll be a time when that's what we have left, and we have memories, and we have those pictures. And when I think about the joy that it brings my heart to see my parents or my grandparents with my children, and the joy that I have, the few pictures that I have with my grandparents, it does bring joy. And it's really heirlooms. And so again, it's about making those memories.
It really is. One of the other things that I wanted to talk about for a second is if you are doing a road trip or driving at any point, rent a van if you can, because that gives everyone a little more space and makes it much more comfortable for people who are traveling for any sort of distance there. It gives you a little bit of room, and they don't feel as claustrophobic, and they can move around physically a little more, which is very good for preventing blood clots and things like that, and keeping the circulation going, that sort of thing. I think one of the things you wanted to talk about too were the bathrooms.
Oh yeah, yeah. I love my bathrooms. You got to have them.
You know the Europe side of it better.
Okay, so in Europe, bathrooms, they are not everywhere. Okay, so you may be at a huge tourist attraction, and there may be 2 or 3 bathrooms. And in Europe, they almost always charge. I would also advise, as far as the bathroom goes, when you're traveling, especially if it's an extended flight over, even a couple of hours, that you try to book an aisle seat for for the seniors, simply because they tend to get up a lot more. And again, it doesn't just have to be to go to the bathroom. Whenever I travel, I try to get up every 2 hours just to stretch and stand up and walk around.
Yeah, it's supposed to be very, very good for you to do that.
But the last thing you want is them to be at the window seat and then have to try to crawl over 2 or 3, 4 people to get up and go to the bathroom. So again, I think being on that aisle seat helps a lot.
I agree. I definitely agree. And the last thing I want to touch on is medical needs. Not medication, nothing like that, but thinking about, do they need food more often? Do they need to remember to do anything specific for a condition they have? That's all these things we have to take into consideration. Maybe they need some downtime or a nap in the middle of the day to be able to make it through the rest of the day, to keep their body going. Think about all of these things when you're planning. We want our seniors to be as comfortable as possible and to be able to enjoy their trip as much as possible. This is a memory that's going to last a lifetime, and you want to make it the best it can possibly be.
Absolutely.
I guess we're going to wind it up for this time.
Okay, so our next episode is going to be something to do with traveling with teenagers.
Yeah, we're going to talk about how to design a vacation that will make you the hip parent.
And hopefully they'll still love you after the vacation, okay? Because there has been times, and
it's questionable with teenagers.
There is a lot of experiences, and we speak from experience when, maybe that wasn't such the greatest idea in the world. And then there's been some things that the kids still talk about. Man, that was the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, but remember, follow our channel, hit that like button, subscribe. Please subscribe. We want to hear from you. Drop us a line. We want to know where you're going, where you've been. Tell us. Follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And again, drop us a line. We would love to hear from you.
And one of the things, if you're a younger person that watches this, watch something that you think would your parent. You don't have to call out your parents, but something that you would like to see that maybe would make things that, again, because sometimes as we get older, especially me, I become oblivious to certain things that kids like or want to do. So if you're a younger person, feel free to
Yes.
drop us a line.
Tell us what you like in traveling. Yeah, we would love to hear from you. And remember, break the monotony.
Not the bank.
Bye, guys.
Have a
See you
great
next
week.
time.